right, Brad LaChance, thanks for being with us. That was the Jimmy Dore Show. You heard it right from the horse's mouth. What are your thoughts?
I was wondering why that you were paying so much attention to that. Are you sick? Do you need the health insurance?
It's the corruption. It's when you find out the level.
Corruption.
When you find out the level of corruption.
It's not really surprising.
But you always think there's a lesser of two evils. They're working together.
Oh yeah,
They're working.
Yeah.
You know, he was the House Minority Leader for the Democratic Party during the 1990s, and now he lobbies on behalf of the health insurance industry. These are the people that are supposed to be fighting that.
Right, based on his affiliation and being a Democrat, right?
Exactly. So they're all Republicans. Your entire government is filled with Republicans.
The Senate?
Well, they call themselves Democrats, but they're not Democrats.
Oh, okay.
So what are your thoughts?
Not much. There's nothing I can do about it. I do know that. Well, I'm confused because I have the state insurance and I've been to the hospital, nothing serious, and which would be very expensive. I wasn't on the Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is all state, and I've never paid a cent.
So the entire. Well, here's my thought.
So I mean, I don't understand. Why are they talking about a policy that they are trying to get in?
Yeah, they want to do single payer where it all comes through. It all comes out of taxes. So if you're making more money, people that are making more money pay a little bit more, and everyone gets covered. It's like everyone's on Medicare. And the former leader of the Democratic Party is basically he's lobbying on behalf of the health insurance industry to stop it from happening. And he's on tape. He's on tape doing it. You know, Jimmy Dore had another show recently where, you know, Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader for the Democrats, was at the same party. Not this isn't a business thing. They were at the same party as Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and the Koch brothers, like prominent people that are trying to destroy the working class of this country. Now, what are your thoughts about that?
Did you say the Koch brothers?
Yeah, have you ever heard of the Koch brothers?
The Koch brothers.
Yeah.
They're like, huh?
White powder.
No, well, I mean, I've heard of there's some Koch brothers down the street, but that's a different thing going on.
So the Koch brothers, they put millions, maybe even billions of dollars into elections, trying to swing elections for right wingers.
Sure.
So they're all convoluting with prominent Democrats, Chuck Schumer, and there were a couple other names. So they're all in it together. I mean, I knew it was bad, but it's much worse than you think.
Much worse now.
I think it's always been that way, and it's taken a guy like Jimmy Dore, it's taken people like him to expose it. Because when you look at CNN, it's all about Trump and Russia, and it's all a huge distraction. Yeah. It's all a huge distraction from what's really happening, and they're laughing all the way to the bank. Some truly evil people.
Greedy people, yeah.
And it comes from greed. You know, Bernie Sanders, you know, people are going to build statues, you know, out of Bernie Sanders. He's going to go down as a Greek god. But wouldn't you rather have that than, you know, a couple million in the bank and a fleeting life? Wouldn't you rather be remembered as, you know, a great person that did something positive for society, or would you rather just have the money? It doesn't make sense to me.
So you would take the money, right?
No, I wouldn't. I would try, because I know what it's like.
What's wrong with you?
I know what it's like to starve. I know what it's like I was homeless to not have food.
Okay.
I know what it's like to not have health care.
All right. I don't know. That's a tough one. 'Cause, I mean, what are you contributing? I don't know. I'm not going to really go into detail about this.
He has integrity.
I don't know. Integrity's good. Integrity's good. And then there's also the problem if you get the $2 million and you spend it, and then you lose everything, then you become accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and then it's like almost more intolerable that you have to go back and get that job at the hotel or whatnot.
Okay, let's say you're
back into that one-bedroom apartment and all that shit.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You're Chuck Schumer. You're the Democrat minority leader in the Senate. And you are given an invitation to go to a party. This isn't a business thing. This isn't to negotiate the Affordable Care Act or anything like that. But you're given an invitation to go to a party with Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, and the Koch brothers, who put millions of dollars into Republican politics to elect right-wingers and a right-wing agenda. Would you go?
Are you saying that he shouldn't based on him being a Democrat?
He shouldn't. They're supposed to be the opposition party. And that's why Jimmy Dore, that's why they're calling for a new party. To Bernie Sanders starting a new party, to draft Bernie Sanders for a People's Party. What do you think? This is a political show now.
Yeah, I would think of it as like being an individual and not really exclusively identified with a party. Is that, well, I would consider going, but then if you are a Democrat, you have to worry about how people respond to you going.
Well, you were the one. You were the one that
extremes.
Exactly. You were the one. I'm saying if you're Chuck Schumer, but you're the one that talked me out of voting for Donald Trump in part. In the end, I don't think I was ever going to do it. So you knew what a scumbag Donald Trump was. So you know what I'm saying. So I don't think you identify with that side.
No, I don't identify with that side. I mean, I don't identify with any of it.
Do you identify with the side that's going to give you $15 an hour minimum wage? Do you identify the side that's going to give you reasonably priced health care?
That's happening in some states, and the thing is that it's less of a political thing and more of a like the corporations are able to control that. Like they've raised $15 like in Washington now, and they passed that. I think they passed it in a few other states. So what happens is that the corporations are just cutting hours and doing all this shit because they can.
Right.
So that was just which I think is cool, which is still a good thing because
it's still a victory.
Would you rather work at $7.50 an hour for 12 hours?
No.
Or would you rather work for $15 for 6 hours and go home and have like 6 hours of your day available to you?
I want to know what you think about Bernie Sanders.
I don't think of Bernie Sanders at all. I'm too busy thinking about myself, Augie.
What do you think about the $15 an hour? What do you you just told me?
I like Bernie Sanders. I don't really keep up to date with politics, so I don't really pretend like I know too much.
Why did you call into the show today?
I didn't call in. You called me.
No, you called in the show.
I called in the show?
You called into this show, and now you're telling me that you don't follow this.
No, I didn't know anything about it, so I listened to the Mark Gaffney show, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore, that's what I meant.
I thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Well, what do you think about Bernie Sanders?
I think he's a saint.
It seems to me like he's a good man, but you know more about him than I do because you keep up to date. What makes him a saint?
Well, the year was 2011, and I was working at this hotel, and I would listen to the AM 760 Progressive Talk, and to start with, Bernie Sanders was on not just the I can't remember his name right now. No, the Thom Hartmann show. Not only the Thom Hartmann show, but he would go on several different shows, and I would just ask myself, where are the other Democrats? They wouldn't even go on these shows. Yeah. But he was always constantly on there preaching $15 an hour. This was 6 years ago, before he was well-known outside of Vermont.
Yeah.
Preaching Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision to allow unlimited funds in unlimited election funds in the election process, unlimited amounts of money, and corporations are people, so you can donate unlimited amounts from corporations. So he would have these certain certain pieces of legislation that he would have an agenda either in favor of or against, and he seemed very honest, and he seemed like he actually cared. And then I became a fan of him because
that way too.
Yeah, that's how he came across.
Yeah.
And
so he was trying to get on the election for ideally he was trying to get on the he would have ran against Trump ideally.
Yeah, and if he would have been the nominee, he would have beaten Trump. Almost all polls say that he would have beaten Trump.
Okay, so what happened then?
What happened was the superdelegates, like Dick Gephardt, party officials, superdelegates are able to their vote basically counts more than an average person's vote. So you can.
So there was a chess game going on, and they knew what to do to block them out.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Exactly. So, but not only that, the email, WikiLeaks emails revealed that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head of the Democratic National Committee, who's supposed to be neutral, you would think is neutral, they were conspiring with other party officials to throw it in favor of Hillary Clinton. There were emails back and forth saying, how do we? I
remember that. That was a big deal.
So it's what I'm saying is it's much worse than I thought. It's much worse than I thought. That's what sort of opened my eyes to it. And now watching the Jimmy Dore show on YouTube, he really exposes it. And so I'm learning a lot about just the level of corruption that I never could have believed it was this bad. And Brad Lachance.
What about the people that the people voted Trump in over Hillary. So, you really think that of all the 300 million citizens of the United States, that the polls were saying that the majority of the citizens would have voted Bernie Sanders in?
Well, I'll tell you what. Trump, most of the polls were saying Hillary Clinton, almost all of them, but there was still a possibility that Trump could pull off about those eight states that he needed. He needed to get every single one of those states, and all the toss-up states. So,
right.
The polls were off, but it wasn't. There was a small chance that we knew there was a small chance that he could win if he took all those toss-up states, whether it was Michigan, Ohio, Florida,
right.
And that's exactly what he did.
It would still have been close, but it would still have been close, just like it was when with the actual election.
But with Bernie Sanders,
if it had been Bernie and not Hillary, it still would have been a close election.
It would have, but he was 10, 15 points. The polls had him 10, 15 points ahead of Trump, much further ahead of Trump than what Hillary was.
Right.
Because they wanted somebody. The people wanted somebody. They're not as stupid as people think. They wanted somebody anti-establishment.
Half of the people are as stupid as you think they are.
I don't think they're stupid. I think they didn't want business as usual. I think it was more immigration. They think immigration is hurting them personally.
Do you focus on just one single issue and you decide who you would vote into office?
I think most of them focused.
Issue?
I think most of them focused on immigration. I think that was the case.
That's pretty fucking sad.
It is.
They should vote entirely on that.
Great point.
And then complain when you don't have any health care.
Exactly. Well, That's a great point, and I thank you very much. Thanks for being with us today.
Have a good one, I guess.
Pleasure.
Later.